Adanko, could you clarify, please? However, if you look at the amount for the radio is 80,000, not 100,000.
Which page are you quoting?
Okay, page
22.
Yeah, 22. That 80,000. Yeah, the 80 registered. Maybe so.
Yes, that is 80,000 instead of 100,000. That means there's an outstanding balance of 20,000.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to revert to some of the documentation which are not handy here to give an update on the difference of 100,000. I say we may need to revert to some documentation to check where the 100,000 is coming from. It's a difference in the accounts. Yes. No, we should stick to the 100,000 difference and find it, because the radio regulatory fees is showing as 80 on the statement. Together with our auditors anyway.
We can take note of that.
Yeah, the next one is the petroleum.
Verify the difference of 100,000. Yes, Honorable Sane.
We move to the petroleum levy fees. That is note 5, page 24. Note 5, page 24.
Page 24.
Yes, page 24. During the year under review, PURA had to incur costs for petroleum management of 2,846,188 in order to generate income of 12,757,168 as petroleum levy fees. The levy from the petroleum companies is based on a charge of 0.07 of total liters of petroleum lifted for a month and is provided by GRA. So we just need an explanation on this, and then how this is possible, like with your argument with GRA.
Can you please refer us to the page you are reading?
The page is 24.
Page 24, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, petroleum management cost of 2.8 million.
Yes.
46,000.
Yes.
And then the other page you are referring to?
That is, it's the same page. The same page.
Mm-hmm.
That is the 12,757,168.
Yeah. Same page.
Hmm?
Yeah, the arrangements with the area.
22, huh? Page 22.
Page 22. That's on the revenue side. Revenue side.
Page 22.
Yeah. He's trying to link to it.
Okay.
So the revenue side where you made 12 million,
Okay.
760,000, and then you look at
Yes.
That's where you have that.
Okay. So the different. Rama?
Yes, it's okay now.
Yes.
So yeah. So essentially, the question is, it seems you are getting this data from GRA. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. Yes, you are right. I think the arrangement with GRA is that when the petroleum sector was given to PURA to manage, we agreed that there's going to be a regulatory fee. But it's going to be very difficult to go to all these petrol stations all over the country and charge them separately. So we decided with GRA to be part of the payment that when GRA are collecting the taxes from the petroleum sector, they will alongside collect this amount on our behalf. So every month they send us they will send us invoices and which will be transferred to GRA, and GRA will then debit this into the Accountant General Office. So this is our accounts will be credited. So it's an arrangement, internal arrangement, so that because the logistics of getting it from all the petrol stations will be a challenge. So the easier way is that GRA collect it on our behalf and disburse it to us.
Is there an MOU signed between PURA and GRA on the regards? Okay. So how do you verify that what GRA is giving you is correct?
Well, every month the percentage is 0.7 brutes per liter. So we just go back to the depot and the amount of product is lifted. Based on that, we apply the 0.7 brutes per liter, and that will give us the amount. So it's very easy to reconcile. If you get the amount of products are lifted from the depot, by applying the 7 brutes on it, you will get the amount.
So those figures, who gets them? Is it GRA gets them, or PURA also verifies that those figures are correct? Or who gets those data?
As part of our regulatory functions, we get this data monthly from the depot, and also from GRA, so we reconcile both.
I just want to take you back with regards to this regulatory fees. We just want to know percentage charge for each operator. What is the percentage charge for each operator? On what deal?
Okay, thank you. The regulatory fee regulation of PURA stated that we can charge up to 1.5% for the GSM operators and fixed line operators, and also the ISPs, internet service providers. For NAWEC, it is pegged at 1%. So every year, PURA will look its requirements, and then based on that, we normally charge 1.4% or 1%. Sometimes we also do charge a fixed amount of money, because like Camden and NAWEC, so previously we were charging a fixed amount of money to them because of the challenges that they face during the years. But for the year 2021, we charge 1.4%.
Yeah, in your
Of their turnover figure.
you are saying that you can charge. So what do you use to measure how much you can charge? When you say you can, it means it's not a fixed figure.
Yeah, the policy states up to. It didn't give a specific percentage. So we have a ceiling beyond which we shouldn't go. So basically we analyze based on the outcome in terms of yearly, and every year we have been moving up the ladder. We still haven't hit the maximum yet of where we shouldn't charge from. So there's a range between which to charge.
That's what I want to know here. You know, you say you can charge, like, for example, from 1 to 10. So what figure do you use, or what would I call it, to determine which percentage you should charge?
I think
Yeah, the criteria.
the criteria is done. We have a budget which is approved by our board. So we develop our budget, and based on the projections we have, revenue projections, then the amount is then determined how much you should charge. Some years, if you have some major projects, it may go to 1.4. Some years, it may, because based on our activities, it may go to 1.2. But the regulation says PURA can charge 1.5%. But we are of the turnover. But we are conscious of the fact that some of the companies are struggling also, and we have supporting regulations. So we don't charge the maximum amount. But the law is saying up to 1.5% can be charged. But at the end of the day, the budget that determines what percentage should be charged, and which is approved by the board.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Now, in terms of the turnover, where do you get the figures from, the turnover?
Thank you. The turnover figures are received from the audited accounts of these institutions in the previous years because, yeah.
So it's the turnover of the previous year?
Yes.
That you charge on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can we move to the third one?
Yeah. Again, on page 22, this is PURA International Gateway. Note 2. The share of the gateway funds has been approved by Cabinet to be managed by PURA. As indicated on note 12, page 27 of the report, 50% of the funds are acquiring from international gateway tariff come from the licensed operators, and the PURA is authorized to distribute to GAMTEL and the ICT agency. At the MOICI, MOISA, each getting 5% from the 50% funds. In 2021, revenues generated from the international gateway funds was like $14,601,655. That is C page 22 note 2. And the cost of managing the gateway for 2021 is $7,916,863 as reported in page 24. Note 5. However, there is an accrual of $1,596,965 from the gateway transit account reported under payables on page 27. This account holds the 50% share of the gateway funds inflow billed to licensing operators using the gateway. Can you explain this to us to understand how complex the arrangement is between PURA and the Gambia government? Yeah. How this agreement was reached?
Okay, thank you. I think let me just go take historical perspective. Before 2016, the gateway was a monopoly under GAMTEL. So all the proceeds of the gateway were paid into a consolidated fund at the Central Bank of the Gambia. So after 2016, then the sector was liberalized. All operators were given international gateway license. So as part of the arrangement we had with government was that there should be a sharing formula. Now operators are the one generating the traffic. So, but not in previously any minute that is terminated, they were only getting $2.50 butups. Whereas the termination fee in Gambia was about 31 US cents. So there was a disproportionate amount. So we felt because of all over the world where there is liberalization, operators have their own gateways. So what happened is that PURA then agreed with government that there will be a sharing mechanism. 50% of the revenue will go to the operators. Then the other 50% will go to the government agencies. That is PURA, NOIC, GAMTEL, and all will be shared at other 50%. So at the end of the month, we have a gateway monitoring system. That's the gateway management we are talking about. We have a management system at Bigilo, where all the traffics are routed through. Once the traffic is given, we have people there who will get this information, then tabulate it for us, and then apply the 0.31 cents on the minutes that come in. From that the distribution, 50% of that amount will go to the operators. Then the other 50% will go to the government, which is set among institutions that are provided. Some of them provided bank account where these monies are sent to. So as soon as the money is calculated and the 0.31 cents is applied, and the amount is then given to each party as the regulation stipulates. This is a cabinet decision which was approved, this 50-50 sharing.
Okay, in terms of the new agreement compared to 2016, what would be your rating in terms of effectiveness, like the services and the income? You know, you had an agreement before that was a different operational mode in 2016. 2017 probably came to another agreement that we made with government. How do you see this agreement compared to the past?
Well, the gateway industry, is a dying industry. You'll all agree with me is that very few people use international calls or receive international calls. So even at the time of 2016, we made these projections that to government that look, it was very lucrative when the MGI were around. That was before 2016, because they used to there's a DPI. See, they have a deep packet is something which blocks all social media calls. You cannot call internet, WhatsApp calls. You cannot use Viber because they are blocked. So people were forced to go to make calls. But once you liberalize and there's open, nobody goes except you have a very, very urgent information that you cannot reach the person. You go to a normal call. So because of that, the revenues have gone down significantly. But the only gain is that there is a fair distribution of the resources now. Operators are now getting their rightful amount because of based on the investment in the sector. And government is also having its share. But previously, everything was going to government directly. So if you ask government, they will say they were better off with the previous arrangement. But liberalization also is a cost also. So operators also need to also have returns on their investment also.
Yes, thank you. Now, it also seems before liberalization, there were a lot of fraudulent activities also going on. Now, how is that now, when it's actually liberalized now? How, are you seeing anything relating to, you remember before somebody would call you with a local number, but the call is an international call. So diversion of the revenue, how is that very frequent now?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The current system that we have also have fraud management. It does manage all the fraud, so we do tests to verify that all calls or traffic coming into the Gambia is channeled through the right channels. So we have seen a significant decline in terms of SIM boxing. What you're referring to is SIM boxing calls. We have seen a significant decline in terms of SIM box calls that are coming into the Gambia. At the same time, the operators do also have their fraud detection softwares as well. They do also liaise with us. We have collaboration with them, whereas if they see any fraudulent activities, they will report to us, which we will also find out from our end to make sure if it's a SIM box is blocked. If it is IP related, we'll also block all those IPs that are bringing traffic into the Gambia illegally. So any IP that needs to bring traffic into the Gambia has to be reported to us. We will configure those particular IPs and make sure that those are the only IPs that are carrying traffic into the Gambia.
Thank you. Those people that are doing the monitoring, are they employees of PURA or they are employees of who?
They are employed by PURA. We have a NOC at the ACE building where we have our devices installed. So we have employees that work on shift base 7 days a week to monitor the traffic coming into the country.
Yes, Chair, I think what we need as a committee is let's have a comprehensive report of the revenue that was generated in 2021 and 2022 to help us better understand how this sharing is done. And in the report also, you can indicate what goes where. The 50% going to the other party and the 50% coming to the government. So if we're able to get a report for 2021 and 2022, maybe in the next 10 or 15 days, that would be good for us. Thank you. And the sharing and how it was shared, yeah, for 2021 and 2022.
2021 to 2022, and how it was shared. Basically, let's set the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will make that available, but also just to update the members that we have also moved to improve on this revenue assurance by developing by next year, having a system which will also monitor even the data traffic. And we are currently doing a tender to ensure that this revenue assurance with mobile money and everything is included in our monitoring system, which in the past we did not used to do. So we are gradually improving our monitoring mechanisms. Thank you.
Can we give you 1 week for provision of the report?
Yes, that's good enough. Thank you, sir.
That will be
Next week, Tuesday. Thank you.
I think it will be very helpful if you can get this explanation, because during our last session when the minister came, we definitely have issues of understanding because we are trying to compare, and then a lot of speculation was made. So if you try to just clarify these issues to our members, it will be okay than probably either we giving the speculation or giving false report to people. So it's better we understand what is happening. Thank you.
Any supplementary?
Yes, on the gateway fund transit account. Normally at the end of the year, transit accounts are actually supposed to be zeroized normally. But here we are seeing that there's 1.5 million that is actually sitting on the transit account as of the end of year 2021. Why do we have something in the transit account as of the end of the year?
Thank you. These are funds that we receive from the operators like Africell and QCell and Comion and Gamcell. So these are funds maybe that was received and it's not yet to be shared, because we normally make this year after we receive almost three operators their revenue. Then we do the sharing. So this was the one that was pending to be shared. That's why it's in the transit account.
So that means there could be receivables as of the end of the year.
Yes,
from those operators.
Yes, basically, as you said, the zeroizing can happen, but at the closing of the transactions at the end of the year, if there are items that you haven't allocated yet. So these are the ones that are in transit. Because sometimes the operators delay in submitting their reports and documentation, and we can't share the outcome. Thank you.
Yes, Chair. Also on the same page here, I saw a provision for telephone bills of 12.4 million. What's that about? On page 27, on the payables. Yeah, page 27.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, page 27. Yeah, number 12. No, on the accounts, yeah. So we have payables, telephone bill payables of 12.4 million. Can you shed light on that?
Okay, thank you. These are provisions for telephone bills and lease lines for Gamtel. During the past, we normally have an agreement to do a reconciliation between Gamtel, their regulatory areas, and the telephone bills that we're supposed to pay, and make a set of what for the past 2 years we have been following them to come for us to do a reconciliation so that we can remove this from our accounts. Still owe us about $68 million to pay to PURA. Thank you.
No, maybe I'm missing something. The 12.4, is it that you owe them or they owe you?
Let me try to clarify. This one is a payable that PURA owes to them because of the lines that we leased and so on. But they owe us over 80-something million. So in other words, we refuse to pay this amount until we reconcile and do the net off. And right now we are even in negotiation for them to give us a piece of land, and we can do a net off of the amount they owe because they are cast strapped at the moment.
Can you explain why that increment from 2020 to 2021 from 7.4 to 12.4 million? Is it million?
Yes.
Million.
Okay, the increase is because we have more lease lines connected to the international gateway and also the SAT at Abuko. So, and they are charging us about 1.something million for each lease line. Thank you.
The SAT is the security. Yeah, the emergency service that we have.
In the absence, can we proceed to the next issue? And that could be on Devongo expenses.
Hello? Okay. If you go to page 30, that is the Board of Directors emolument and then Board of Directors training. 30. Huh? The personnel. Yeah. Okay, hold on. So let's first go back to the personal expenses. Where is it? Page page 11, note 4. If you look at note 4, page 11, yeah. The personal expenses. Yes. And you on the notes you have on note 4 for the explanation. Start from page 22. Is the personal expenses. So here you if you are on page 23, you will see that the personal expense is about 14 million and $4,962. And here below it you have car scheme, staff uniform, medical expenses, travel and training. Then the travel and training was about 9.8 million, which is actually included in the staff cost. So if you treat this as staff cost, isn't this not a violation of the IFRS IAS 19? Because you should look at the travel and training was 9.8 million. You have medical expenses 3.2, then you have staff uniforms 8.5, and then the staff car scheme also 950,000 on the personnel.
Are you done?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. Honorable, unfortunately, at the moment, I don't think we are complying, or any institution of government is complying with IFRS. We are not even complying with IPSAS. But anyway, the notice that we are following is whatever relates to staff is taken in the staff cost. I think our external auditors might even be in a better position to explain, because we think that we should all transition in this country to either adopt IPSAS or IFRS. But the IFRS, I know, would be only on the long term that we'll be able to implement that, barring the situation that we don't have a lot of our systems working in enterprise resource plan.
Yes, the auditor, you have something to add on to that? What we are saying is, if you look at all the other staff costs here, on page 23, where you have the staff car scheme, staff uniform, medical expenses, travel and training, we are saying that the way they are classified is not in line with the IFRS, but he's saying that actually they are not following that method. Also, they are also not following the, the other IPSAS. So we are just trying to find out exactly, so which means actually they are not following anything. Any of those two.
Yeah.
No, if we are only concerned about PURA.
No,
for now. So the rest we can deal with.
Honorable, we are all using GAP. At the moment, we are using GAP. That's the problem. Yeah.
Oh, so instead, you are actually using GAP.
Yeah.
So whatever GAP advice, so that's what you are using. That's all. Thank you. Also, on the same salaries and wages, we have not seen anything relating to allowances. Because if you see in end of year 2020, as of 31st of December, the salaries and wages was about 21.4 million, But then you come 31st December 2021, it has jumped by almost over 10 million to 31.755 million. But we have line item relating to allowances. Is it that you are not paying any allowances, or what is happening?
Honorable Chair, if you allow me, before they respond to this particular question, I understand vividly that, or very well, that you are using GAP, if you like. But it will be interest to the committee to know which GAP are you using. I know we often say GAP, but which GAP? I know you are not a state-owned enterprises. I quite agree. But also there are guidelines that you could follow. We advise that you consult the Accountant General or the Minister of Finance. If you go to the Public Finance Act, it is very clear on who should use what. But I advise that you go back to the Ministry of Finance, who is the lead in ensuring that there is something. According to the Public Finance Act of 2014, it suggests that budgeted entities should use IPSAS cash basis. That's what it said. Although we also encourage other entities to go to IPSAS accrual, because IPSAS cash basis is not a true representation. If you like, we encourage entities to ensure that they use IPSAS accrual. Even the current public finance management bill that is coming up, hopefully, before the end of the year, we have tried to encourage Minister of Finance to ensure that, they define who can use what, so that entities don't just tend to rely on you saying we're using GAP, without any clear reporting guideline. It is the responsibility of the Minister of Finance, as per the Public Finance Act, to come up with a very clear reporting framework that could be used by all entities.
If I may rejoin on that, I want to assure him that as far as PURA is concerned, we are going ahead with installing an ERP system to enable us to be compliant with IPSAS, so that we will use the IPSAS accrual, which, as you said, is more amenable to public sector. So we have advertised, it's in the papers, in fact, if you see our ERP system, and we believe that by the end of this year, we will start early next year to install the system, which will help us be able to comply. As you know, the cash accounting system with the situation will not render itself very amenable to this. Thank you.
Yeah, is it not also possible to separate the traveling expense under the training expense, so that we know how much was spent on traveling and how much was spent on training? Because now you put them together.
Yeah, we could do that. It's the accounting code that we have at the moment, has them together, but they could be separated. But the main gist of the matter is that some of the travel issues relate to training. It's actually, most of it relates to you are going on training and we pay a ticket for you. So the ultimate aim is that they seem to be global in terms of why we classify it that way. However, if it is a requirement, changing the accounting codes and separating them could be done.
And what could be responsible for the increment from 2020 to 2021 from 5 million to 9.8 million?
Your Honorable Chair, during the COVID period, things were slow in terms of traveling overseas, and a lot of training was done online or locally. But once the COVID came to an end in 2021, some of the travel and trainings started to happen. And that is the normal trend. Maybe you can see in 2022 that the trend is more stable because of the changes. Thank you.
Yes, the question about the allowances. Because I've not seen anything here. It's just salaries and wages, and they are bulked together. So the question is like, is it that there are no allowances paid, or what's happening?
Thank you. The salaries and allowances, wages here is combined, both salaries and allowances paid to the staff.
It's included in that column. It's not highlighted as a separate line item. But similar to what you are saying on the travel and training,
Yeah.
if it is an interest to show it as a separate item,
Yeah.
a new code can be created for allowances. and then it can be analyzed separately in the reporting. As I say, is the method of accounting that we are currently using that renders it very difficult to classify and ensure that those things are separated. But with the development of an ERP, we'll be able to do
And it seems, what was the reasoning for the increment in the salaries and wages? And again, if you look at your reports, it shows there's only like 3 additional non-managerial staff added during the course of the year. But then the salaries and wages actually has jumped from 21.4 to 31.7. What has happened here?
Okay, thank you. The increase from 21 million to 31 million during the year 2021, the authority presented to the board for salary increment. We did a survey and see that PURA was still being using the previous 2005, 5 or 6 salary scale. So in 2016, in 2021, we did a survey and come up with a new salary scale and allowances, and it was presented to the board and it was approved. That's why the increase.
Can you give us an example of this other staff cost? Because double.
The other staff is beneath the table here. If you check the table here, it's there. You have staff cost scheme 950,000. You have staff uniform 8,500, and then you have medical expenses. In 2020, we were operating in-house medical scheme, but in 2021, we see that there is a trend that people are being the same. So we enter this insurance scheme with the insurance company. That's why the difference, because of the premium that was charged by the insurance company.
Did you have any payroll increment? Like you have number of new staffs who joined you?
Yes, there are a few. And the medical scheme, this one is the insurance will charge you based on the staff and the dependent. But in the in-house one, it was only during when you are sick and you present your medical claim. That's the time we pay you. But the insurance scheme, whether you use the scheme or not, you will you are obliged to pay a premium. That's why the increase.
Chair, it will be of interest to the FPAC if you could do a detailed breakdown of the salaries and wages that you said it included allowances, so as the FPAC would also study that, comparing to your 2021 in order to arrive at the huge differences, if you like.
Yes, we will make it available. Mr. Chair, he says he has the salary scale here, so he can share it after the meeting.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We've observed that the Board of Directors actually went for overseas training in 2021. That cost the authority about $342,600, which is a little bit unusual for us to see Board of Directors being sent for overseas training. Can you explain what actually happened, or if the board chair is here, he can explain to us what actually happened with this?
Maybe before the chair comes in, I might be able to give you hint. The classification of the wording as training is inappropriate. The right wording should be study tour. The board actually went to fellow corporations that are responsible for regulatory affairs in Nigeria to see what they are doing in their monitoring and ensuring that the institutions are governed properly. So this was basically one study tour, and it has been happening with all other boards around the country. But our board only went for one study tour so far. Thank you.
Okay. Once they come back, do you prepare a report, like a report to show exactly what happened?
Yeah, they are usually accompanied by a senior member of the staff who has prepared the report to say what has been done, who they have met, and how this has been something that will add to their role of supervision of the authority.
Thank you very much. Chair, also on the, if you look at on the same board also, I've seen something called Board of Directors telephone allowance, moving from 70,000 to 105,000. What are these telephone allowance paid to the board members? What is it?
Okay, thank you. This telephone number is every 2 years we have a mobile set policy that every 2 years we give allowances to the board of directors for the and staff for the telephone mobile set allowance.
Just maybe to add, the reason why it increased is because there were new board members. The board was not at full scale, and we had new people coming in as members of the board.
Now, is this an allowance or is a purchase of telephones for the board members? Because here is showing board of directors telephone allowance, and one would think it's an allowance that is paid to the board members. Yeah.
We pay them to buy a phone set, to buy the phone set. Yeah.
But you did say the policy is for you to buy, not for them to buy. That's what you just said.
It's actually for them to buy. We facilitate for them to buy the phone sets that they can use for the activities of the board. And mind you, the amount is very low compared to what phone sets cost nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of
appreciation.
Exactly, yeah, something like that. But I don't know. Maybe you need to look at the nomenclature, because people like us will think that we are paying them an allowance, which under normal circumstances cannot be. It's only the Minister of Finance that should authorize those things. Maybe you need to look at the nomenclature.
I told him the descriptions need to be more apt.
Now, on the conferences, consultancy meetings on the 23 and 24. Yeah. The report indicated that PURA spent considerable amount of money, public funds on the consultancy, conferences, travel, and training. Well, shown in note 5. And the consultancy was about 5.7 million on conference and meetings and 9.8 million on travel and training. And we just want to get an understanding about what's actually happening here, because there's a considerable jump from what actually happened in 2020 compared to 2021. And these two, you are talking about close to 15 million plus between the consultancy, the travel, and the training. Why was it necessary during the course of the year?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, PURA has a unique status in what we do in terms of being regulatory authority. There are certain international conferences that we have no choice but to attend because we are members of the ITU. And as members of the ITU, if you don't attend those forums, decisions made can affect the entire country in terms of the spectrum and other frequencies that are allocated to you. So during the course of the year, in previous year in 2020, as I said, it was a pandemic period. So we hardly attended any statutory meetings. These meetings involved the meetings with the ATU, African Telecom Union, meetings with WATRA, West African Telecom Regulatory Authority, meetings with the energy body, and ECOWAS. So we are obligated It's not a choice that we have, that we should attend or miss out or lose out in the decisions that are made. If you come to the some of the meetings that we are held, we had even conferences that we hosted as PURA. As part of our mandate, we hosted an ITU meetings here in the Gambia, which brought a lot of revenue also to the country. There's also spin-offs in the economy because more than 100 attend these events. So in a nutshell, this is why you find a lot of the expenses relating to such regulatory matters being high. And 2020 is not the best benchmark year because of the time it was. Thank you.
Table 5. There is meeting allowance in 2021 amounting to 732,000, but nothing in 2020. Can you explain?
Okay, thank you. In 2020, there was no policy on meeting allowance, but in 2021, there was a policy that if we have meetings with external stakeholders, we pay them allowances when they come for the meeting. That was why in 2020-21 it shows there.
I want to rejoin there, Mr. Chair. As we were tapering off from the COVID, some of the online trainings were no longer not being paid in 2020, but an allowance was put by the government to encourage trainings to be done online. And there was an amount allocated to pay to trainees for attending meetings online. So this also could be a factor.
Underneath the same note 5, we have both training amounting to 342,600, and there was no board training in 2020. But I hope this one is not a study for the board.
It's the same one. It's analyzed down, same number, same amount.
Yes, we are still on the 1.2.3, the training under the HR short-term training by the directors on page 5, 6, and 7. That was done in Cape Verde and Senegal by a consulting firm, Crest Consulting and SMD, on the advanced office management to budgeting and workforce planning. We are a little bit worried because these are programs that actually can be done in the country. Why would you want to go to Cape Verde and Senegal for such a training when this thing actually can be done within the country?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, sometimes the trainings depend on the company that is offering it and the quality of the training in terms of reviews. Some of the trainings are available in the country, but the providers don't have the necessary skills or adequately have a good report in terms of outcome of their training. So this training was held by the consultant, but offshore, outside the Gambia. And a lot of other companies, including PURA, not registered to PURA, registered to attend it. So we normally assess, is it run by a credible institution which will be valuable to our staff, and if it is, then we accept to go the extra mile, even if it is outside the country. But the assessment always depends on whether it's going to add value to the institution, and the staff going for this training will add value to what is needed in their role and their service. Some of the institutions, just to tell you, they have events that are done in MDI or other places, but the trainers themselves don't have the pedigree as some of these trainers that are doing this outside. We maximize, and currently we try our best to ensure that whatever is available here, we take it here, because it cuts down on costs and time that staff will be away. But sometimes you do not have a choice but to accept to send the staff out to attend this important training.
I'm just worried. This consulting firm is Sana M Dabo, and you have one Dabo. I don't know whether it's the same Dabo. Just worried on this on the side of conflict of interest.
Thank you very much. We have Dabo as a HR director, and that's not the Dabo. Sana Dabo is a member of our board, yes, but the consulting firm is treated as a consulting firm. It's not the individual. And the consulting firm is doing trainings for all government institutions, including Ministry of Finance, including other institutions. So the training that he does is he throws out the training, and any institution that is interested joins. It's not specific to PURA. We join other institutions that are undergoing the same training.
Yeah, I think the question here is because he's already a member of the board, and normally such would also be approved by the board. So we are just thinking from our own research, there could be a conflict of interest because he's a member of the board, and at the same time he's the CEO and the president of SMD. That's our biggest fear, conflict of interest, because he's a member of the board who actually approves some of these things on your budget and stuff like that. And he turned around actually also, trained PURA themselves. And again, we are also aware from our research here that SMD also is in the Gambia here. And that brings the question, why do we have to go to Cape Verde? Why do we have to go to Senegal?
Thank you. Honorable member, some of the trainings that SMD holds are held in different venues. Senegal, Cape Verde, it depends on the type of training that is at hand and whether we need it. There's a lot of training that was held by SMD that we did not attend. On the issue of the conflict of interest, I think it depends on what we will term as being his influence role on decision making in terms of the training. The board approves the overall budget for training, but they do not involve in decisions of what training we undergo and which company we choose. That is entirely a management decision done by the Director General and the management team. Mr. Dabo, as a board member, does not have an influence on what we decide or whether we decide that we go on his trainings or not. They set it out, send it out there, and we choose. We choose which is relevant to us. We choose if we need to go on. Even our external auditors, this flag some of that, and we have taken cognizance, and we will be more cautious on how we deliberate on hiring him in some of our activities. But he does not do a specific training directly for PURA. We have always been as part of a group on a training that he has he's doing for entire country, entire companies, and we are always part of a group of 20, 30 people from different companies. But it's something that's worthy to be noted, and we will definitely bring it to his attention to ensure that we have a proper, I see it as a, how do I call it, shooting ourselves on the foot. Because if we say that because he's a member of the board, so even if his company is running a good training that has big impact and is very well received by everybody, we will not attend. It also makes us lose out just because Mr. Dabo is the owner of SMD. So I guess on the conflict of interest, it can be looked at on that line. But he has no decision on whether we attend, on approving the amounts, or approving where we attend.
Yes, thank you. On the chair, on the on the PURA Act, actually, the board members actually are required to disclose their interest, and I just want to find out if this Sana Dabo actually has disclosed his interest in SMD, knowing fully that SMD actually provides training for government institutions, including PURA. Because if you look at it on clause 11, it's saying if a member has a direct or indirect personal interest in the outcome of deliberations of the board in relation to any matter, the member shall disclose to the nature of the interest at the meeting of the board. The disclosure shall be recorded in the minutes. The member shall withdraw from, etc., etc. So we just want to find out actually if he has disclosed that he has a personal interest. It's SMD that provides training to PURA and also other government institutions.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Member. I think we would delve into that, but the appointing authority is not PURA, it's the ministry and the president's office for the board members. So maybe that's the disclosure point. But at the same time, we know in PURA, myself and all the staff, know that he's the proprietor and owner of SMD. But like I said, in terms of him getting involved in the taking staff to his trainings, not to my knowledge, they send a brochure to all the institutions and we decide where. But in line of disclosure, we can request that to be made.
Actually, the law is not saying that he cannot. What they want is for him to disclose.
Disclose it.
So that when issues along the lines he has been discussed,
Yeah.
then he can excuse himself until whatever the rest of the board actually have completed. Just a
Absolutely.
matter of disclosure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Not only disclosure, but also to exonerate himself from discussions pertaining to the issue that we consulted about. But I think it will be proper for him to be exonerated from him getting that particular contract. I'm not sure that firm is the only competent person in the country that can render that particular service.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with you, and that's why we are not only taking Sana on these consultancies. We have various, we have CRES, we have all the others, and we divide among depending on what course they are running. Is it something we need, and how many people do we need to send? But definitely, as you say, it is something to be looked at, and we will bring it to his attention that the FPAC is concerned, and that there should be a way, a modus operandi. Definitely for us, it's depending also on the evaluation, and a lot of the things he's doing has been well received by institutions all over the country. And so I feel sometimes to find out how we can penalize a dynamic and Gambian who's doing a good job, and maybe hire foreigners to come and do something, or send people overseas and pay them a lot of money when we can do it in-house. But there has to be a balance, as you have stated, because of him being a member of our board. And this is something we will be cognizant of going forward.
I stress whether the firm is the only competent firm to render the service. But if there are others, I think opportunities can be granted to them instead of me.
Chair, before we move out of the accounts, I just want to highlight on page 26 about the receivables of PURA. On the, if you look at it, it seems they are owed a lot, and I'm not too sure how this actually impact on their operations. Because I mean, someone owes you about 80 something million. On page 26. Yeah, on the receivables, yeah. Trade receivables. I mean, I think this is a very huge amount. Who is responsible actually for this? It's good for us to know. Huh?
Yes.
I hope it's not the parliament. No, we don't owe anything.
No. You guys are clean. The majority of this is owed by GAMTAL, the state operator, and NAWEC. NAWEC, on the other hand, has made a commitment agreement for repayment, which they are honoring. So it's going down on their side drastically. GAMTAL, we are trying to do, as I said to you, a swap, so that we trade off some of their debt with some assets. They are hard not to crack because of the fact that they are the only one running the fiber in this country with a moratorium, and they are the only ones with direct land lines. And if we have to shut them down, which is normal with what we did with Comium to get our 69 million paid, I think the first people who will cry will be the cabinet and National Assembly. But we made headways. These 2 years, they have paid more than 20 million of the huge amount that was outstanding, and we are now clawing back even their amounts that they get from the gateway. I've taken an action to ensure that they don't get any gateway payments to them until we get our money fully recovered. And they cried everywhere, and I said, no, we're not paying you when you are owing us. And we have been taking 5 million from them since I think 6 months now. Huh? And I think at that rate, we will get this money very soon recovered fully. But they are the biggest debtor to PURA now.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good strategy. But since you are getting recovered, but again, the land issue, I think we, as a committee, when we met the last time, which is my other committee, I think they can swap it with the land. If you can have that also, and think along the lines of building your own, office where you don't have to rent, I think it can also help the institution in the long run. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable members, can we now move on to the management letter? Let's refer to page 4 of the management letter. The auditors observe series of internal control and other related issues that were reported by internal audit teams remain unclear, and recommended that both the board and the senior management should assign a responsible officer to ensure closure of all internal audit concerns. Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this has now been put in place. As it is, we are a bit behind in terms of dealing with 2021, but the board has assigned a director to be responsible for monitoring these reports to ensure that they are being addressed adequately.
Audit.
Yes, we are monitoring that. So every year, what we do, we request the internal auditor to give us an analysis of all the internal audit reports that were issued and the status. So it comes directly from the internal. Yes. And the
They are saying that they've not put that in place.
yes,
Has that been confirmed?
yes. Someone is responsible for that.
And the next one is the approval of the annual work plan. It was also noted by the audit that the 2021 was not signed by the chairperson as evident for approval. Therefore, the auditor recommended that the board should ensure that the annual work plan is signed by the chairperson when approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has now been implemented, and subsequent work plans for the internal audit has been signed and approved by the board of directors, represented by the chairperson.
Audit.
Yes, we've seen the 2022 one, which was signed by the board chair.
Thank you. We proceed to page 6. That has to do with expense management. The auditor noted that the review of the expenses, that's the personal and administrative, for the year saw some very significant jumps in some expense lines during the year. Even though it is just a year into a post-pandemic period, some of these expenses are shown in Appendix 2. We're able to expecting some moderate increase in many lines, but an overall increase that is 52%, amounting to 34,244,554, as shown in the table, was unprecedented, given a very moderate increase, 7%, amounting to $8,813,031 in total revenue. This increased expense is more than 7 times the increase in total revenue and income. The table is shown below, and then the auditor recommended that the board and the senior management to ensure that the expenses increase in line with total revenue and income. Can the management respond?
Thank you, Chair. Management has noted the observation. However, during the COVID period in 2020, most of the authorities' operational activities were scaled down. And in 2021, when some of the COVID restrictions were lifted or minimized and travel restrictions lifted, the management and staff have to conduct their normal activities and attend to national and international workshops, conferences, and trainings, which are statutory to our functions. These are some of the reasons for the increase in administrative expenses by 49% from 2020 to 2021. On the staff costs in 2021, there was board approval on staff salaries and allowances and creation of new positions to complement the authority's ever increasing regulatory functions. the year 2020 will not make a good benchmark, rather the 2021 and 2022 will be better base years.
Audit? Yeah, we've noted their responses, but to be quite honest, we do not agree with what they have advanced us.
Can you speak on the mic?
Speaking, I don't know.
Closer, or bring it closer to you.
Yes, we've appreciated the comments they made, but quite frankly, we do not agree with them. 7 times is too much. We thought from COVID things would have been done gradually, but the increases are huge, as can be realized from some of the questions that the honorable members are asking. It's the same concerns we had regarding the expense. You cannot come from a pandemic, then boom, everything goes up. It should be gradual. That is the expectation, so that you can also capitalize on the pandemic to save more funds for future development. But you cannot spend all on travel, training, etc. Expect people to understand that it's too soon.
Mr. Chair, I think it all depends on the situation at hand. I think my colleague here did explain that there was a salary increase, which is a big chunk of this amount because of the salary scale, which was very low and is still very low. And I want to lament that to the FPAC, that the Director General of the Director General of PURA receives a lesser salary than a manager in NAWEC, which it regulates. DG of PURA, his salary is less than the NAWEC manager, not director or Director General. NAWEC manager. This is what we are facing. We are losing staff every year in their numbers. The trend before was people moved from the regulated authorities to PURA. Now our staff are going back to those institutions that we regulate. We've lost 2 managers. One has gone to NAWEC, another one has gone to a project. And that trend is going to continue if PURA is not assisted to be paid properly. I believe that we have a problem. And the problem is in all organizations in the world that I have visited, the regulated authority is given enough tools, enough remuneration so that they will not be tempted. They are like police, because we are policing these people. And if they are better equipped than you, if they are better trained than you, how do you regulate people who have more knowledge than you? That's why we have to up our ante. I found departments in PURA when I came in 2021 that had 1 manager and 1 director. Entire department of petroleum. 2 people regulating the entire country's petroleum sector. I found departments, economic regulation, that does the tariffs for NAWEC, where I have 2 people running the entire department to give the economic regulation of the country. How do we expect human beings to do that, Mr. Chair? So these amounts are cognizant of the fact that we had to upgrade quickly. It was really very, very, very difficult to run an institution of this nature without having the required number of staff and people to be able to do the due diligence and be trained adequately in the sector. This is why we have this huge increase during this period.
From 2020 to 2021.
Yes, sir. I joined PURA in 2021, June.
Let me go back to the once more. With this extra explanation advance, are you convinced?
Sorry, with regards to personnel expenses, the discussion persists 2022, and I know 2023 it will persist as well. So during our 2022 audit, which we finished, we are finalizing, what we discussed and advised them, get a competent consultant to do a proper salary survey for you, so that you can compare and contrast your entire remuneration package with government institutions you want to compare yourself with, so that you know whether you are at par or not. But the current situation is 1 or 2 staff will call 1 or 2 people in some few institutions and say these are the salaries. Then you go to the board, you want to increase. It's going to be difficult. Get proper people to do the salary survey for you. Once you get that, you go to the board, it will be a lot easier. But if you don't do that, it becomes a problem.
Okay. Now, after that advice, before the increment, did you do that consultancy around the salary package?
This advice is recent. We are working on it, and we are tailoring it with our strategic plan and performance management framework, which will even give a better impetus on the right scale and salary remuneration of our staff. But we always face hurdles, and Mr. Chair, you have just stipulated in your report in this last assembly the fact that PURA's revenue that it generates is going to central government. Nothing comes to us on the licenses that we make. We work days, months to get these licenses passed, and zero. We get zero. Spectrum, zero. So if you have made it clear that PURA, for it to become what it needs to be, has to be financed, it has to be funded. Nowhere is a multi-sector regulator funds being taken by central government. You go to PURA in Rwanda and anywhere, you'll find them, the funds they make stays with them. That's why they are ahead of the game. That's why they are well paid. That's why they have all the equipment to monitor the people that they are dealing with. Without that, we'll always be running catch-up.
Chair.
I mean, I like the argument, MD, if you I like the argument that you are bringing in. However, I think we also need to take it step by step, knowing that yes, Rwanda have started from somewhere and they are where they are today. We cannot just jump and be equated with Rwanda, if you like. And we should also be mindful of the regulatory institutions that are in the Gambia. PURA is one of them, but you also have the Petroleum Commission, also on board. So we need to also align the objective together, and then so that we achieve what we want. I quite agree with the auditors. We need to do a step-by-step approach, if you like, so as to ensure that once we have a documented policy, is going to be appreciated by not only PURA, but even those that are performing oversight of PURA. In your response, you also did mention about having in new staff. Although the new staff is only 3, as far as your disclosures are concerned in the financial statement, you added only 3. So it's casting doubt, if you like, on how did it help to jump the amount from where it was to where it is now. So if you could also further clarify on that.
Thank you. I think my analogy of quoting rural is mainly to show that they are multi-sector, not that we want to be the same as Rwanda, because we know that we are very far away from there. But all the same, what we are trying to say is that if we are to be fair to the regulator, to being the regulatory authority, the sectors we regulate, we should not be too far behind them in terms of remuneration. That's what I'm telling you. You talked about the jump. When we find out that there's a lot of gap in the amount of staff that are needed to run the institution, we have to take some people on temporal positions. Right now, we have over 5 of our managers that are temporal because the people left to go to the people that we regulate, and finding these people with the quality and competence takes time. So we had to headhunt to put people in the interim. Their salaries come to this kind of costs you will see. There's a lot of cost implications if you have to run an institution like PURA, which means you have to create stopgap measures in the interim. And I agree with you, it has to be on a scale as the external auditor has stated. But it's like where we were so low, we couldn't walk, we had to run. And we're trying to run to catch up so that we can be able to do the right thing. If you look at 2020, we had no equipment in PURA to monitor spectrum, to monitor frequencies, to monitor even the hazards that they are saying. We found funding by using our own means to get international assistance from the World Bank. And now we have these equipments at PURA where we sit in our office and we are able to check what they are telling us is the truth or not. So we've improved a lot on our own, finding our own resources, which should have come from government funds that we are making through the licensing. But we are finding external sources to support us. So yes, we will gradually get there. And I agree that we can do in stages. But the situation was too dire to do it in a short-term gradual process at that time.
Good point. Also, maybe one thing that you would want to revisit, I'm not sure if you have not done already, it could be your act to see some of those things that you are trying to bring in out. You did mention some of the managers are scaled up to a temporary positions, if you like. I assume they're on, would I be right to say they're acting as directors? If they're acting as directors, what does your policy provide, if you like, as far as acting is concerned? How many months or to what extent can they act?
Yeah. What the ones I stated are people that have been taken from outside, not they have been taken to come in temporarily in the management position because the position is vacant. Yes, contract. The people, we have people on acting positions, but that's based on our laws and HR rules and regulations because the person has to be competent enough to act in the position, and it also depends on the longevity. We follow the staff rule on that one. Yes. I think there was another part of your the act. The act of PURA is we've decided to review it together with all the other institutions that are involved. But we're waiting for the IC Act, which should precede, because a lot of things has happened whereby there was a conflict between the PURA Act and the IC Act, PURA Act and the Petroleum Act. So we want to ensure that they are aligned. So we're doing the IC Act review, and following that, the PURA Act is going to be reviewed. It's already in our plan and it's already in our schedule of deliverables.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I think I quite agree with the auditor. Some of these things actually you need to have a comprehensive review. Otherwise, you'll be doing salary increment in a very short period of time. But if you do an overall review, and then remember this thing, you are a regulator. Essentially, you must be in a place where the people that you regulate, they cannot be paid more than you. Because otherwise, what will happen? They will be leaving you to go somewhere else. And that's why I agree with the comprehensive review, where the regulator actually will be put on top of everybody else, so that you know exactly who you're regulating. So that, in fact, you'll be attracting people from the people you're regulating to you, not the other way around. So, and I think if you are able to do that comprehensively, that could actually help. But, sometimes we have interest in here. In 2020, PURA actually had a fixed deposit of 64 million. And in 2021, they also had a fixed deposit of 20 million. So now the question is like, when you say we don't have the funds, but you also have fixed deposits, what are those monies meant for? These are things that you may be able to invest to be able to do something else. So I understand that some other places like Norway and others, they owe, but you also have excess, it seems, where you actually investing outside,
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member, for being a hawk on our funds. As you have rightly just recently recommended to us that PURA should have its own headquarters, we were earmarking funds dedicated to build our own headquarters because we are tired of the rental, and the building that we occupy is not even adequate for our needs. So right now, those funds are what we have been harnessing and putting in deposits to be able to build our headquarters. And of late, GPPA has given us the clearance so that we can build our own headquarters. So that's why those funds, although you see them as big, but they are not even totally adequate for what we need. But they were earmarked and set aside for that activity.
Page 6. We are done with, page 7 rather, page 8. Environment. The audit observed that
you said you have get approval from GPPA to construct headquarters. That suggests that you already have an existing land. And maybe Hard and Co could guide us. I'm not sure where I have seen anywhere in your accounts the disclosure of that ownership of that land.
Yes, from Hard and Co or from us? Okay, we've been allocated the land, although we have not yet taken ownership of it because we believe it's not adequate for us. And we are still pursuing that with the government to give us a proper one. And that's why I mentioned that we are even trying to do a swap with Gamtel so that they can give us land and offset some of their debts. So basically, that's why you are not seeing it in our asset register. Because until it's leased and taken over as ownership, you cannot put it on your asset register.
Yes, I agree. You cannot recognize, but you can disclose.
I think disclosure in a note would be appropriate if needed, but it's not mandatory if the asset is not yet crystallized into a legal document.
Adanko?
Okay. For national audit, oh, sorry,
Yeah, it could have been
Haranko.
disclosed. So, yeah, it could have been disclosed so that all the issues surrounding it could also be included. We'll take note of that in the 2022 accounts before it is finalized.
you'll take note.
Yes, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
But with the way government actually issues land, you know, I'm not sure if you need to take ownership when you don't even have a list document, and when it's not actually. I'm not too sure. I think it's better when you have a list document and you can evaluate it. You know the actual value. Yeah.
No,
So,
Honorable. I think we need
I
to.
don't know.
I think we need to be guided.
Guided, yes.
You cannot recognize, but you can disclose.
yeah, but if disclosure is to be made, you have to put a value on it. You have to do evaluation.
Not necessarily.
If you want a note to say we own or we recognize that government has allocated a property, okay, that's fair.
On environment, the review of the board meets, the auditor noted that some environments that were made between budget lines, which were approved by the board, as follows: 3 million for medical expenses, 2 million for conference and meeting, 3 million for travel and training, both local and overseas, and 2,230,000 for director general vehicles. As such, environment at the time of the request, already the budget line was exhausted, and then which is indicated below in the table. And the auditor recommended that the senior management and the board should ensure that the requirement of the Public Finance Act and other regulations be observed as far as practical.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on this one, I would take my hat off and accept that it was something that we should not have done. The problem is that because currently we are on a cash accounting basis and no method of proper accounting in terms of accrual is in place to see the commitments. These are commitments that we are hanging, and by the time the accounts are prepared, they feature to already show that you are over the limit. But that's why we corrected it by going to the board to ask for the environment to make sure that we are in line. If we get the proper accounting system that we are yearning for in the ERP, it will not even allow you to make the payment because the system will alert you that you have reached your limit. And this is some of the problems we had. On the Public Finance Act, we needed to be guided. We need to know more about it so that our people can be able to ensure that they are aligned to it. So I totally agree with this comment as being something that was a failure on our part, and we take note to avoid future recurrence.
This is 2020. We are talking about 2021 and 2020 to 2023. What is the situation?
I don't think we will have, if we come on to the board here to report that you will have situations like this. Definitely we've taken note of that.
Any supplementary? Can we move to P10 that has to do with treasury management? The auditor noted with concern that huge amount of cash was left in the bank, amounting to 89,154,576. At the end of the year, not invested in the treasury bills and the other government bonds, compared with only 33,040,680 as at the end of 2020. This is coupled with reduction in the investment treasury bills of 44 million in the same period. The amount of investment in the treasury bills at the end of the year was 20 million compared to 64 million at the end of 2020. And on that, the auditor noted that the senior management, and in particular the Director of Finance, should ensure proactive management of the liquid assets of the entity by constantly exploring investment potential of those resources. Management?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we take note and we have been doing that. I think this only transpired because there's a cutoff for the year. But we didn't leave those monies lying idle, and we have invested them subsequently, and they have yielded a lot of returns to be able to help us with our new headquarters building that we are planning to pay for. So during the period, sometimes a question comes as to the amount of rates that are being offered. And at that time, in the pandemic time in 2020, there was very, very low rates, sometimes even lower than leaving it as a deposit in your account rather than going to do term deposits, because term deposits will pay more. So what we've graduated from this, and I think the auditor can attest in 2022. When the report comes, you will see that we didn't leave the money idle. And like I said, currently we are finalizing, we've signed the contract for the construction of the headquarters. So this money actually is already, synced. It's called sunk cost. We already allocated it to this activity.
Page 11, that has to do with the draft financial manual. The auditor noted with concern that the financial manual had been in draft for months after being available for senior management's review, and thus recommended the Director of Finance should ensure that this draft manual is available for board consideration as a matter of priority.
Here too, Mr. Chair, I think we had taken it too long to finalize our manual because there's constantly changing situations that we were trying to adapt. But the manual is now ready and we intend to submit it to the next board meeting for approval. We were doing a lot of changes on our staff manual and other manuals which will impinge on this one, and avoiding to have to vary the manual doing changes every year. We thought it wise to delay so that the other manuals that have effect on this are taken on board in terms of cost elements and fees. And this is why there has been a delay on it. But it is now at the stage where it is ready to go to the board, because management and the staff have all reviewed the manual now.
Yes, we have no problem with that. The only issue we had, like you rightly said, is long overdue. We give them a slide in 2020, so 2021, since it wasn't finalized, we deemed it necessary to report it.
The next issue is also pertaining to expenses. There is no supporting documents attached, and the audit observed during the review that the following payments vouchers were not supported with receipts and invoice. One has to do with the transportation and logistics for a patient returned to Andaka amounting to 10,000, and other payment overseas medical treatment amounting to 200,000, and other one purchase of eyeglasses amounting to 15,000. Auditor recommended the management should ensure that all expenses be attached with all the necessary supporting documents to give a clear view of the expenses amount. Management?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this is an exceptional situation which we found ourselves in when one of our staff had a severe illness requiring evacuation in Dhaka. At that point in time, PURA didn't have an insurance policy scheme, whereby the insurance would have taken this matter and we would have included it. Unfortunately, we had to give impact And the impress that we are giving was given to a sick person to travel with his family. He continued to deteriorate and had to even undergo recently transplant, kidney transplant in Turkey. And that is how he has been able to be back at work, albeit in and out. But this kind of situation would not occur because we no longer have a need to give a staff an impress for any medical. It's dealt with by insurance company. We've tried, it's the same person. All these three items are the same person actually. It's not different. The same Makara Jonga is the one that went for his overseas treatment and gave for the eyeglasses because he was not having his eyesight failing. He had many ailments coming from the kidney failure that he was having. So we tried and we asked him to put together these documents, as he has accepted that some of the documents he was not in any position to be able to hand them over because he wasn't even himself. He was sometimes in coma, in and out. But we tried to see whether it would be appropriate because expenditures were made, transport and logistics, and the hospital is the invoices that he paid, including his family staying over in Dakar to assist him. If you ask my opinion, I would say that even though they are significant amount, but considering the situation and that it is not something that will recur again, it should be written off and charged to an expenditure item of medical. This is what my recommendation is. Because considering that his condition is still not 100% and he's still at home, and putting him under pressure, we need comments, would not be the best way that PURA would be seen as remain. But it depends on what advice we get, how this can be handled. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciated the response from management, which, given the circumstances, it's difficult to go back and get supporting documents for these. But they are already expenses anyway. It's not like they're impressed. They are already posted as expenses. It's just to agree to move forward, going forward, to ensure that nothing like this happens. Yeah, but they are already expenses. Just supporting documents for some of these items which were not provided.
Yeah, but the answer they're giving is kind of a little bit interesting. Yeah, if you look at the management comments, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chair, previously we were the regulated entities were not submitting or having their audited financial statements available for the previous year. Yeah. Let's him read from the report.
Okay, management response is the audit observation is noted. Financial statements in preparing the audited annual budget is the previous year. For example, the budget of 2021 is prepared in the year 2020, during which time the only available audited financial statements are for 2019, which we have no choice but to use to determine the regulatory fees to be charged in 2021. The audited financial reports for the financial year 2020 will not have been available. The income is not lost but deferred. Now, the board and management have now we will use the previous year the available audited accounts as the audit charge, the regular fee charge. But we will state in the letter that this will be used as provisionally until you have your previous year's audited accounts. Then we will charge you the appropriate regulatory fees.
Yes, as I was saying, what normally happens is that we prepare our budget 3 months or 2 months before the end of the year. By then, the financial audit accounts should have been available for all entities, because normally it's 6 months after the end of the year. But this is not what's happening with all the institutions that we regulate. So we use the previous year, so we have a year gap. But what obtains is that when the audited statements come in, we will be charging you the year behind, 1 year behind at each point in time. But what we have agreed now is that even where we don't have your audited financial statement for the year that we should be using, supposing, for example, we are dealing with 2021 and you gave us 2019, we will set the fee at 2019. But during the year, when your audited accounts are available for 2020, we will send a supplementary invoice to charge the difference where there is a discrepancy between what was given as a draft financial statement and what is the actual financial statement, which is audited. Because they are supposed to base it on audited. But where those audited are not available, we have to go to the earliest available audited accounts and then have a supplementary invoice charged to them, which means it's just a delay of the cost. That's what we're trying to explain here. That they don't get away with it by not being charged in the appropriate year. They're just deferring the charge for a period. And that period is usually a few months. So we will always make sure that you get paid for the right amount in the year that it is supposed to be paid, or in time. So it's a timing difference, like a deferred tax. You don't get away with the tax, but you still pay it.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Yes, I think that could have been a better explanation. Just like what you said right now, that during the course of the year, once you receive the audited accounts, the differences of the invoice will be sent back. I think if that was explained here, probably we're not going to have to ask any question. So I think that explanation was spot on. Thank you.
But I think we need to be guided, because the auditors is saying it was based on the 2019. They are not referring to the budget. Correct me if I am wrong. They are referring to the actual calculus that was done. The actual was based on 2019, not based on based on the previous year. So it was not based on 2020, but based on 2019. So yes, during your budgeting years, that could be a problem. But at the time that you were sending the invoice, did you try to correct it? Because I remember in your deliberation earlier, you said the regulatory fee of 90 million was based on 2020. So is it based on 2020 or based on 2019?
Okay, as explained by my DG before, the budget is prepared at least 3 months before the year end. For example, like in 2020, when we are preparing the, in 2021, for example, 2021, when we are preparing the budget for 2021, the only available, the budget is prepared like in September 2020. So September 20, the audited accounts of the operators is not yet ready for 2020. It's because we're doing our budget in September 2020. So we can only use the only available audited accounts for the operators is the 2019. So we use those one based on their turnover and charge percentage charge. So and we normally send the invoices in January. So still now their audited accounts is not yet even their accounts is not yet even closed or been audited. So we can only use them maybe in 3 months time or 6 months time. That's the time that we will the audited accounts of the operators will be made available.
I think the question is not still answered.
No.
The 2021 regulatory fee that you charge, the auditors are saying it's based on 2019.
Yes.
Not based on 2020. And it should be based on 2020. If you go to GRA, for example, when you are filing your tax, they said if you have audited accounts, they charge, is it 2.5? 1% rather. If you don't have audited accounts, they charge 2.5 or so. So couldn't PURA also institute the same so as to ensure that this issue is addressed?
Yes, thank you. I think those are things that can be taken on board in terms of moving forward. But like he's saying, if at all we base our charge on 2019, it means in 2021 we are charging you 29. In 2022 we'll charge you 2020. So you will still pay in a delayed format. What we are saying now is that even if the accounts come late during the year and we get the final audited accounts, we revise that fee that we levy you at the beginning of the year because we didn't have your audited accounts and ensure that you paid. So if you, like you're saying, we could have a penalty for people that delay. But knowing the market and the way audited accounts get done here, a few audit firms, a lot of them struggle to even get their audits done. So that's why we are allowing that delay in getting the funds, but not writing it off by all means. And I think in the new policies and the acts and things that we are revising, we could put in clauses and rules that will make people make a hurry to get their audited accounts available to us so that we are able to charge the right period in the right time. This is something we will take note of as part of our way going forward to ensure that they do their audits on time and submit on time to the regulator.
Yeah, I think I just want to re-emphasize, because if you look at GRA, they're dealing with more of both formal and informal sectors, whereas you are dealing with more formal sector than the informal sector. So if they are able to do it, then we should be also able to do it in this case. And I'm not still, maybe I'm not getting it right. Yes, the 2019 was what was used. I mean, you're talking about in the future, going forward. Now you are going to use the idea or the method that you have introduced. But the audited accounts that we have here present, we are dealing with 2021. And this figure that is charged here, the auditors are saying is based on 2019. And the question is, have you adjusted this or not? Because this is income that is owed to you. And because you are using audited account of 2019, not 2020. And I think this needs to be corrected.
Do you want to help us or before I come in?
Yes, what you've said is right, and that's our concern. We had a very lengthy discussion, especially in 2022, regarding these delayed payment, and all these things were suggested. Send them supplementary invoices during the year, or like the GRA issue, you charge them for not submitting audited accounts, so that you don't have your funds tied up for a whole year before you get them, since you have a lot of regulatory issues that you need to deal with. You have equipment, you have head office to bill and all that thing. So you cannot afford the luxury of leaving your funds lying with the regulatory institution for a whole year. So these are not adjusted. And in 2022 also, it's the same. Hopefully in 2023, they may do the adjustment. But 2021, no adjustment. 2022, no adjustment as well.
Okay, let me chime in there. Maybe my accountancy knowledge has vanished a bit. But if we charge 2019 in 2021, and we charge 2020 in 2022, we charge 2020, we are delaying the receipt, but we still get the money. We still get the percentage that you are supposed to pay because the percentage hasn't changed, right? So it's not like we are losing money. The delay of receiving the money is on us. Now that's what we are saying. That money is not lost by who. What we do now is to ensure that that collection is done early, which means in this current situation, when we bill them this year in January, we had used the same previous 2 weeks because that's the account available. But during the year, now that their reports are out after June, we now have the supplementary to give them this year to recover that money, which means at least before the year closes, we have our money intact. It doesn't roll into the following year. And what we want to institute, as advised by you, is to have penalties for delaying us to get our money, and also have other methods that we will use to ensure that the law to say if you don't submit your report, we can charge you a higher amount than what is being stipulated on our rules. And that would solve this issue, I think. In the interim, it's just a deferred income. which is going to come to us.
I think, yeah, now I think it's very clear. I think the issue is about cash management, essentially. So they're just trying to ensure that your cash doesn't lie idle somewhere when you actually need to have it. If you want to invest it somewhere or you need to, expense it, it's up to you. I think the whole situation is just about trying to get your money when it's due. Yeah, so I think you can look at this and see if you can change some of the processes you actually have. Yeah, I think we can move.
I think this has now brought us to the end. We are now left with the review of the previous matters previously raised. That could be found in page 15. Page 14, right down. The payroll not reviewed, and then it's reported that has been resolved. And then delayed payment of pay tax partially resolved since the payment for the month of August, I think it's August, July and October, we are not made on the time. 5 months. And the next page, that is 16, July and October. That's what I said. And page 16, we have staff personal files that has been resolved. Page 22, lack of provisioning policy, not yet resolved. That the financial manual which is supposed to be addressed, the lack of the provisioning policy is in draft for months now. I think that issue has been mentioned in the management. And the categorization of the staff costs resolved. The internal audit various items, the 2021 was not approved by the board, but the 2022 one was approved.
Yeah, for the internal audit, maybe we just need to confirm. Do they report to the board or do they report to the MD?
The internal auditor reports to the board through the DG, but not controlled by the DG. He reports to the board in the line of hierarchy, because he's part of this institution. What he takes his reports directly to the board.
Okay.
And also the staff has been overtaken by events. We have now recruited 2 people that are supporting the internal auditor. So the update is there's not only one staff. We have 2 staff.
So who does the appraisal? Those internal auditors?
I think it's normally done through the MD as an interlocutor, but the board has final say on whether they are happy with his work plan and deliverables, whether he's been able to perform them.
Good. Under that, for the staffing in page 24, that is partially resolved, and the audit work findings all resolved. The presentation reports to the board and the directors and the manual noted resolved.
Do you want an update or?
Yeah, I will come to you. All this where they are not resolved, you'll give an update. The board matters not resolved in page 27. The matters continued to the previous or to the subsequent pages. In page 33, we have the property, plant and equipment not resolved. And under that, the Toyota Land Cruiser and then the Wagon Prado. That is-
Chair, do we get updates while those that are not resolved, and then we move on, so
yeah,
that we don't
we'll
have to
go
come back?
through, then after he can give us the update.
That would be too long. Oh, I think you do it one by one. It's
One
better.
by one.
Yes. Then he updates where it's not resolved, and then we move to the next one. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we've done away with that. It was a delay. Yeah, we are always been won an award for paying, recognized for paying our taxes twice on time.
Yes, the situation has improved.
We'll confirm in 2022. Don't worry. We'll see.
Yes, that's a fact, and we have included in our financial manual, which we intend to submit to the board for approval, so that the provisioning policy can be there.
Yes, the report is still in draft.
Yes, I think that was it was approved, but not signed by the chair. But now it's all been approved and signed for the current years from 2022. Yes, I think I reported on that the audit have now got their staffing numbers requested. The internal audit manual, I think the internal auditor is here. He can confirm that the internal audit manual, what the status of the internal audit manual is. We'll give him a chance to speak. With your permission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The internal audit manual has been validated by management, but it has to be presented to the board for approval. Thank you.
Maybe we need to find out when would that be done. No.
It has been approved by management and to be presented on our next board meeting. He's finished with it and management has ratified. Now it's only to take it to the board. I think that has been drafted by the secretary, the TOR, which is also one of those documents. We have the secretary of the board here. I will let her also speak if you permit, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The board charter has been drafted and it's pending presentation to management and approval of the board.
Yeah, wouldn't the Minister of Finance or the line ministry does the approval, because you are doing a charter? Yeah, you are doing a TOR for the board, and the board will approve their own TOR. Wouldn't it make sense for the line ministry to be involved at the approval end once you see everything?
Yes, they are, however, represented by a member in the board. So they have a board member from the ministry who sits on this board. So he or she would be the one that should take the matter. But as you rightly pointed out, since the appointment is made by the president via the ministry, it would be good to share it with them for their comments before it goes to the board proper for approval. So we take note of that. Yeah, I think in that period there was a difficulty of holding board meetings, but subsequently we are more regular now. At least a minimum of one board meeting in a quarter is taking place. Yes, in the past, directors were represented by the DG in putting their report, except for the internal auditor. But now, where a matter pertains to a director, we are calling them into the board to be able to be answering questions by themselves and to give their own impetus on matters. So that is now being regularized currently.
Yes, we see subsequent presentation, not what we expected. We want to see all directors because when they are all heads of departments, we expect them to be presented their own report to the board. But there is progress in it, though not where it should be.
Take 33 fixed assets insurance not resolved.
Yeah, I will let the finance director speak before I come on that one.
Okay, thank you. Most of the fixed assets that we have at PURA, they are already obsolete, and some of them have the net book value is zero now. But the most recent asset that we bought, like the electronic magnetic measurement tool and the spectrometer tool, has been installed. So, and motor vehicles has also been installed. So it's only maybe some of the furnitures and fittings that are bought. But we will resolve to install some of them and present it to the auditors.
If I may make a rejoinder, Mr. Chair, there's a lot of assets that are listed in our asset register that have been fully written off. And currently, in the authority, their value, net book value, is almost nil. So insuring them would be just incurring cost for the institution for no reason. However, we have decided, and we think it would be appropriate to have evaluation. Maybe a revaluer coming to see what the current value of the assets are, and if they have to be reinstated at the valuation price, which is normal in accounting and can be done. But all assets that have been bought of late have been insured, especially high value. So we're working towards doing that. But for the assets that are fully written up and value deemed very nil or negligible, we didn't see the need to insure them and just pay premium for nothing. I will defer to the internal auditor to report the status on that one.
Yes. Yes, this was in 2020 when the internal audit was just newly instituted. But subsequently, we've been conducting the cash count at the end of the year. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, I just wanted to understand. I think it's the Director of Finance that it said with regards to those assets. Did you say the assets are fully depreciated or they are written off?
They are fully depreciated, not written off as yet. Fully depreciated. They are nil book value.
Auditor?
I think previously insurance was not something that they were very particular about. So when we came, we pushed them, and so all the assets are insured. having a net book value of nil does not necessarily mean that the asset is worthless. It means you wrote off the cost of the assets over its remaining useful life, which should have been reviewed and revised periodically, which was not done. So it doesn't necessarily mean that assets are worthless. So these are things that we looked at every audit and comment on them where necessary. So where we see the need for increase in insurance, we will still tell them to insure more. Then they do the revaluation like the DG said, which they have not done yet. But hopefully very soon they will do so that all the assets which have useful lives can be insured properly.
Because that bring in the issue of because the issue of the manual, it is said the manual is still at the draft stage. And I'm not sure the depreciation that they did follow, whether what approval have it gone through? Is there any policy, a clear policy of the depreciation that they should use? Maybe, and was that also your opportunity to review that as well?
Yes, it's there because the manual was very old. So we advised them to revise them, which they've currently done. So the problem is the delay in getting the manual from finance to senior management and to the board. So once that is done, we'll still look at it and see whether whatever is there is appropriate so that we can comment on it again.
I think, Chair, it will be interesting for the FPAC to take a position for the finalization of the manual. It appears it has been dragging from, if I had you right, in 2020. It did not come up because it was discussed. It came in 2021 because it is still not addressed. And, I think you need to take a position to ensure that this document is finalized sooner. Chair, that's internal audit. I'm not sure if you still want to. They're following up on the internal audit.
I just want to make one inquiry regarding internal audit. I've been coming to various PACPEC meetings, but I've not seen any interest in bill by any of the PACPEC committees on the reports of internal audit. I just don't know why an important entity within the control environment of any institution, which you recruit very senior people, they come, they do their work, they present their reports of management to the board, but when this committee hasn't taken any notice or interest, calling the internal auditors to come and deliberate, even if it is going to be 5, 10, 15 minutes on what they have been doing. And I've also observed when you look at these activities reports that have been submitted, not only by PURA, but other institutions, few will even mention what internal audit has done as a unit. And these are highly specialized, skillful individuals who provide very important context in terms of the control environment of an institution. For instance, as external auditors, our interest in internal controls is limited to those controls which impact on the financial statement. If they don't have financial statement impact, we are not very much interested. But the internal auditors are interested in every control, whether it has financial statement implications or not. But these reports are not discussed here, so I just want you to help me understand whether you have any plans for them, to discuss their report that,
Yes, Chair, I think I can respond to that one. Actually, we we've started with our own National Assembly, and we've made a request for the reports of the internal audit. We want to start from ourselves before we move out, so that we can have a clear understanding about the importance of those reports. And naturally, they are required to prepare quarterly reports, which should be submitted to the board. And coincidentally, in our board here, both the chair of FPAC and myself, the vice chair, we are part of the board. So we have started to request for those ones because they are very important. Because of these are pre-audit issues that they actually highlight. And once management actually, responds to those issues and fix them, you're going to see that there will be less issues along the way when the auditing is done. So we want to start with ourselves and then we go out. So we've already made a request and we've received the reports of the internal audit for 2022 and 2023. And we're going to do a review internally, and from there we're going to go out to start a request for those things. For whenever the board comes, we want to get those reports also presented to us so that we can take a look at what is happening. Because sometimes you may see that they will make recommendations or they've seen A, B, C, or D, but management was not be keen to do those things. And that's the reason why I was asking, who does the internal audit of PURA reports to? I ask for those reasons because you don't want them to be reporting to the MD where, issues can arise and, they'll be, because of you're going to do my appraisal, so I'll be very lenient. So, but we've taken note of that, and then you will start to see that we are asking questions on those areas. So we want to start with ourselves first. When the parliament comes to FPAC, then you start to see, okay, what happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I think, yes, you want to comment?
Yeah, with your permission, since he's also suggesting recommendation, I have only one that I wanted to bring forward to this committee. That in the end, when you have your final report that is going to be presented to the parliament, maybe prior to it, to just lace back with us on issues that have been highlighted as pending or severe, that we can give an update so that by the time your report, because we all know that there's a year or two delay in the reports that we table. So if we go there and we state a situation which by now was already resolved, it might not be well received. So just to say that if we have a final question from you to say, can you tell us if there are any changes to what we have, and with evidence. If we don't have the evidence, then you are on your way with what you have. It was just something I thought to mention to this group as a way of highlighting. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Chair, sorry to butt in. Not the ones that are here that are being dealt with here. For example, I'm saying right now you have the report which might state that maybe Gamtel owes PURA 20 million. And there's a time delay between you have interrogated us here to give you the update and the time your report goes to the assembly. It might take months. And by that time, maybe the payment has come and it's clear. So I'm saying at the time of reporting your finalization to your assembly, maybe you could just quiz us to say, has there been a change to what you have discussed with us for an update, so that we don't have something that has come which has already been resolved, not the prior year one.
I just want to ask this question about the strategic plan. Whether you have a completed one or is in the draft stage, where are we as far as the strategic plan of PURA is concerned?
Yes, we we have designed a strategic plan for 3 years, which is now 1.5 year halfway in. It was approved and endorsed by all parties, including our stakeholders. It's existing, and we can share with you.
Please, and was it costed or you just?
Yes, it was costed.
Yes, please share. Thank you.
To conclude on your submission, if you have to give any updated management response, it has to be given to the auditors for the confirmation. And when they confirm, then we'll be advised as what should form part of our report. Let's now get to the last phase of the consideration that has to do with the activity report. Activity report.
Allow the economic regulator to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, Honorable Chair, you'll agree with me that the electrification rate in this country is geared towards the growth, the greater Banjul area and the growth centers. In the villages, there is rural electrification, but phase 1 and phase 2, but yet still we have high number of villages that are not electrified. So we still have a lot of generation capacity, but the network rollout to the villages and small settlements in the Gambia still remain very low. And that's explains the reason why you have a lot of generation capacity, but the network has not been extended to the villages and small communities in the country. But when you go to these big towns and growth centers, you have electricity available. But this was 2020, but now we have some new projects that is expanding the network to almost every part of the country. We have World Bank funding and other ECOWAS funding, they are all around. Hopefully, based on their strategic plan in the next 5 years, you should have universal coverage of electricity. But at that point in time, we have excess generation capacity, but the network rollout to the various communities have not been executed at the time.
Or even in the big communities, there was, yes, one could say there was improvement.
Yeah, I think currently the most thriving industry in the Gambia is construction and building. If you go to this, and even if you go to the courts, everything is about land, land, land. So communities are expanding at an exponential rate, whereas the ability for NAWEC to meet this demand is also very slow. By the time they have built a transformer for a community, let's take community for my community Lamen, that's a transformer. But within the 2, 3, 4 years time, you will have more than 10 or 15 or 20 households connected. And also within the same household, people are becoming being urbanized. You have so many gadgets people are using. So the demand of the on the electricity is overshoots the supply side that now you can provide. So there's this mismatch. Even you provide, if you have communities that now you have story buildings, you have AC, so many people are affluent, having ACs in their compound. So the demand on the transformers far exceed what the supply, the capacity they can provide. So, but they having projects as we speak now that will address these gaps. So the transmission gaps, but it's not an excuse. They should support to provide, but these are the realities, and the current projects hopefully will address those issues going forward.
With your permission, I don't want to be apologetic for NAWEC. I think they have a lot that they need to do to get their house in order. And we have been very, very, very lenient in supporting them, even with the regulatory fees that we charge them. It's not still at the level that it should be under the PURA regulation. But NAWEC has been dysfunctional, and they have been putting the cart before the horse. A lot of times they've entered into arrangements before they prepare themselves to take care of those arrangements. And that's what happened with the Senelec, with the power coming from Senegal. The power surge and supply from Senegal depart from what we have here, and their transformers and systems do not accommodate. And that is what we are seeing with the fluctuation in our electricity. Now also their lines and systems are out of date. If there's an outage in one area, everything is manual. They will shut down 10 or 20 areas to search for one area's outage, because there is nothing in their system to tell them the location of where the fault is. So now it really needs to be taken to task, and we should be at the forefront of that as the regulator. Their supply is not an issue. It's their distribution and the management of the sector that is faltering. The quality of the service, quality of the personnel, knowledge on how to handle issues, situations of short-term issues, pipe burst will take 48 hours to be fixed. I cannot understand it. It shouldn't happen in this day and age, but that's what we are doing. And all over the country, if you go to Greater Banjul area, you see pipes exposed. It's NAWEC's job, it's National Road Authority. They don't care. They don't go there. But NAWEC knows if the pipe continues out on the street, in 2-3 days, it's going to be burst. Nobody comes to back in order. Water leaks. So I'm just going to say NAWEC is a problem and needs to be tackled both by the regulator and the government. We need to do more to make sure that they are delivering to the people. They are behind schedule. We will. Your Excellency, we will.
Yeah, Chair, let him
Yeah,
just...
we have tried every opportunity to make NAWEC, including this unpopular tariff that we fought so hard because they were going to lose their financing and everything. And we put our necks on the line to make sure that the tariff increase happen. We are not seeing the fruits of that labor. Therefore, we have to start to take sticks and leave the carrot aside. It's not working. We will do so, sir. Thank you.
And if you can also help, because access to electricity is one challenge. The other thing is about the unpopular tariff that we are talking about. We definitely is causing a lot of economical problems to the people. Because people are complaining about it. So for me, like now, I'm not even that much, very much interested in having electricity, looking at the problems that people are going through who have access to the electricity. Because the tariff again, 30%. And then now, just as you said, is already indebted. If you look at how much they owe, like Senegal, Turkey, they are this cheap, and then you go to, is it GMPC, Central Bank, Social Security and Housing Finance. So sometimes people are saying, is it about these tariffs about how they will settle their debts? Because it's definitely causing a lot of problems.
No, honorable member, it was not about them settling their debt. It was about an overdue tariff review. And if I tell you, the actual percentage that NAWEC was asking, and my colleague can correct me if I'm wrong, was more than 50% in their initial submission. We had to look into the numbers, look at the figures, and bring it down to something that is more acceptable. But even in that level, it could have gone further down. But that's beyond us, beyond what the mandate of the regulator is. We had to do objectively review their submission with the records and documents that we have at hand, which we did. I think we will have to do more on the enforcement and ensuring that they deliver on the quality of service. That's where they are definitely failing, because now they have the supply, but they are not delivering to the population. And we are also, I think, exploring something that's new, that didn't happen before. As a regulator, I think we are now the first to give a license off-grid to an operator for a solar system. And we've seen it happen where a solar system has been installed in a region in Yamana, and the entire has power through solar. So I think also we should also not get ourselves too bogged in by NAWEC, because the way to go is not this heavy-duty fuel. The way to go is clean energy. We need to try to improve more on solar, wind, and other, but we need to force NAWEC to take those projects when they come in the grid, so that it reduces our dependence on heavy fuel and the high cost of foreign exchange importing this fuel. So these are all mixes that we are doing, energy mix, to try to improve on the access as well as the cost of power in this country.
And what do you do to help the consumer complaint in terms of this off and on that is causing a lot of damages to consumer equipments and other things?
Yeah, as I said, I believe that we have been too nice to NAWEC. And you are not the only one suffering from it, even myself. And we have complaints. We have a complaint management system for consumers to report all their problems at 148. We have not been charging NAWEC for consumer appliance. Most of their excuse is that the appliances quality has not been checked. They are coming from countries where the quality is not good. So, and then the problem is they try to narrow it down to say, how is it that in this whole town or in this whole village, only one person is reporting that his machine broke down, while the rest didn't encounter it. Therefore, it is his machine. It's not now a fluctuation for him. So all those are big excuses. They never take responsibility for anything. I can tell you that. But I believe that we should test the waters and get people to come in with their complaints, and we find them and pay people the money. If they start suffering from the bottom line, they will wake up. It's because nothing is happening, so they just relax. That's my belief.
Maybe I may start with the claim.
Chair, I think it will be really very important for us to have something really very comprehensive from PURA about NAWEC. Because, we know the issue of generation, transmission, distribution. In fact, I put a parliamentary question twice, with the last one being last month about, electricity theft. And all of a sudden you see them arresting somebody. So which means, what have you been doing for the past 10, 15 years? You are losing a lot and you just relax, it's okay. And what happens? Who were arrested? Their own people. Now, like for us in Upper Salem, since God created earth, we don't have anything. It's just now that they've started putting in the polls. So, and in fact, one time I threatened to take the government to court because of why are we being discriminated? We are part of Gambia, we are all paying taxes. So why would you give someone the orders? So, but I understand that there needs to be a lot of work that needs to be done to really revamp now if you want to move forward. If you look at their accounts, what they owe, whatever, and how many times we have to build them out. So, and I think even the network itself, the distribution is old as me or older than me. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So maybe if we have a comprehensive report from PURA, your view and what needs to be done, maybe we can take it forward and then see what we can do. Thank you.
Okay, in the same page, it is indicated that there was an agreement signed with Senegal to increase its import capacity. Has that been implemented? In the same page 17.
Yes, I think currently, when we are reporting this was in at the border post of Farafenye and what's it called, Karang.
Okay.
But now the capacity have increased almost threefold to complementing the car power production.
What is the production capacity for Senelec then and then now?
Unless I check from provided, yes.
Then it was also indicated that the car power is the major supplier. And what's the production capacity for car power as well?
Yeah,
You also confirmed that.
yeah, but I think it's about 30 meg. Car power
30.
is 30 meg.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's talking about currently. Car power is 30 meg. It has not increased. It's still the same 30 meg.
On electricity tariff, the authority is reviewing the tariff and that there are challenges in relation to data acquisition from the utility that still remains. And the Ministry of Finance is ensuring that, as well as the authority, are ensuring that the new cost reflect rates will be defined in the upcoming year, that is the 2022. Has that been done?
Yes, I think that's the controversial tariff we are talking about. That is 30% increment.
30% increment.
Yeah, so it happened towards the end of last year.
Let's go to page 19. On the table, or page 18 before 19. The second table that has to do with the electricity generation. This one is the installed capacities at Kotu Power Station. If you look at the table, the total installed capacity for Kotu Power Station amounted to 41.4 at the installed capacity, and then the available capacity is 27. This has drastically increased by 65%. I want to believe this is why these areas are experiencing this frequent load shedding. 65% reduction. Can you shed light on that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you are rightly so, but most of these plants in Kotu power stations were installed, if you look at the installation here, 1981, 1981, 2001, so most of them are old engines.
They are very old.
It's only, I don't know how they manage to operate them now.
Yeah, and you know, just to help you, when he was in high school, he used to be a very good athlete. Yeah. The number of miles he used to do and now is different, right?
So,
yes, Mr. Chair, you can see that the installed capacity then, but there is no available capacity on those machines. They are not working.
About 3 of them.
Yeah, so that is why you have this. Even the ones that you have seen there as available, they are not on the exact amount. They fluctuate a lot.
The only one perhaps has been increased,
yes,
and that is the G8,
yes,
from 6.4 to 8.
yes.
Here.
Most of them are.
G6 is frequently under maintenance.
yes.
Okay, let's go to 19. 19, that has to be, the first one is our Brikama Power Station. Where we have the power station, I can reliably report that the catchment area themselves are still struggling and crying for electricity supply. Can I put that to you, PURA?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. I think my guys will have to explain that. So let's get
specifically about filter layout.
Yeah.
Where we have the power plant just very close to. Not necessarily. I
You
sold
are
the
also
company,
a citizen. You are also a citizen. So it has to be looked at on that
Talk about
basis.
Panchang. Yes,
Honorable,
I'm coming down. Yes.
no, I think we, from the regulatory perspective, we are not very much involved in the network rollout where they should be.
Okay.
That's a purely management decision by NAVEC. So if we get into that, you'll be every part of the region needs electricity. So if you go for put it Burkama North, what about my Fonyi Councillor?
No, I said-
so these are the issues we don't want to be involved. So not network rollout.
What I'm trying to establish here, where you have the power plant located, and the proximity for that matter, those people are without electricity. That's where I'm trying to draw to. Not necessarily it's about Brikama.
Yes, yeah, you see, even in the water,
Yeah.
most of the balls they are in my area. Most of them.
Yeah.
But sometimes we go 24 hours without water. That outer area, you see. And sometimes, honestly, it's their distribution network. That actually is a problem, you know.
Yeah, I think for water, the problem is the boreholes are in your area, but the water has to be transported all the way to Sukura to be treated and sent back again. So they cannot, and they are not allowed to give you raw water. They cannot provide raw water to you, the people. So it has to be transported all the way to Sukura to be treated and taken back.
I will come to water also. There are issues about water as well.
Mr. Chair, on the electric side, if you may allow me,
Yeah.
sometimes also what we have discovered is that the plants were constructed before the
Settlements.
came in. And therefore the settlements encroach onto those plants. And then they claim to have been affected by either the plants or that they are not at, because some of these were installed long before those settlements came into place. So that's the problem also.
For Brikama power plant, that one is a new power plant. It came
after the
settlement here.
settlement was there.
In fact, there were demolitions conducted in the area when they were constructing the power plant. Now, that one there is a deduction, but not that much, from 84.6 to 72.8 in terms of installed capacity and then the available capacity. And engine one is out of service. If you go to the province, the installed capacity is 5,710, and the available capacity is 5.3. You can see reduction across the country. Can we go to the water? Water is in page 22. Treatment of the water. Before we come to treatment. Now, if you look at this table also, where we have these boreholes, and the communities in those areas are without water. Sukura, Salaji, Jambur, 31 boreholes in those catchment areas. The communities are without water. Serekunda, I'm not so specific which areas of Serekunda. Just recently we've been hearing Bundung crying and demonstrating for lack of water. Brikama, I want to say precisely this around the Kasakunda area where most of these boreholes are. Busrandin and elsewhere, they are without water. At one point, the communities used to go to the borehole to get water, and they were stopped by NAWEC for them to go and use those taps to get water. So this, I think, is necessary. We bring to your attention where we have the boreholes the communities in those areas, they really should benefit from that. We have to do justice to them. Director of Water.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Mm.
With regards to water treatment, I think the Director of Economics have already opened that discussion by saying that in the water value chain, if the boreholes produce collectively, they pump to the treatment plants, and then from the treatment plants to the distribution network. That is how the operation is as far as the utility is concerned, because it's a requirement that the water that they give to people should be treated, it should be disinfected. That's why it has to go through the treatment plants. So that's a requirement that they have to fulfill. That's why you have all those boreholes pumping water to the treatment plants they have across the country. Now, with regards to the communities within the where the boreholes are not having water, so this basically is a business decision that they have to make, because if you have to extend the network to a community that is really very far from where the distribution network stops, that's a huge investment that you have to make. So this is one of the reasons. The second one is about the water treatment, as I said, the quality, because you cannot, they are not allowed to give untreated water to any community. So that becomes an issue. So the other thing with the boreholes also, the aquifer, the groundwater, the quality, you cannot just go anywhere and start having boreholes. So the aquifer, this is a place that you cannot change. The community can change, but the aquifer you cannot change. So that's why where these boreholes are, these are places where an assessment has been done, and these are places in the Gambia that within the GBA that we can get a good quality of water. That's why those are the places that they can explore currently. And with regards to those boreholes, we already even started losing some, despite the very high demand. In the greater Banjul area, for example, in Bakau, if you go through the report of we can get to there. There are areas where we already start having issues in terms of contamination because of salt intrusion, and also pollution from our own activities, indiscriminate waste disposal. So these are issues that they are experiencing, and we are moving inside around West Coast, where we have the aquifer with a potable supply.
Honorable Chair, I just wanted to throw in some highlights on the water treatment, if you like.
Yes.
You would agree with me that there is a lot of outcry on the water treatment NAWEC. And I'm not so PURA as a regulatory authority whether they also do carry out tests on these various boreholes. We also, as an office, we did carry out a performance audit on the water distribution, if you like. There are interesting findings that are in those reports. The report is sitting on our website, and I encourage PURA to really look at that report, where in some of the boreholes we found some lizards, if you like. So really, it's interesting revelations that we found in those reports, and I encourage PURA to look at those reports as well.
Yes, we have a water quality program that we established since 2009, and based on NAWEC's expansion, we have expanded this program to other communities that we are not covered by NAWEC. Wherever they reach, we also try to make sure that we have sampling points there. Currently, we have 100 sampling points across the country, and we are testing for about 16 different quality parameters, both microbial, chemicals, and most recently on heavy metals, So we test on parameters based on the environmental dynamics we have in the country. Because if you observe, waste management is a big problem and it's one of the issues we face as far as water pollution is concerned. So this is a program that we jointly do with the water resources, because they are the institution with a water quality lab in the country. On every quarter, they collect 100 samples across the NAWEC network and they test for these 16 parameters. So these reports are sent to us and we act on the reports on every quarter. So maybe, I don't know from which institution you are coming from, if you could share that.
From the National Auditor.
Okay, we are not privy to that report, but as far as the reports we have, in the past there were certain issues in terms of nitrate levels in the GBA. As of 2022-2023, these are issues that have already been resolved. In the provinces also, there were sporadic pollutions in terms of microbials, which recently also we have no parameter reported in terms of microbial contamination. So as we speak, in 2023, there have been a huge improvement in terms of the quality that they deliver.
The report is on the website. It's completed this year, 2023. So you can find the report on our website. There are interesting findings that I encourage PURA to take a close look at.
That's not it. We'll go through it.
Audit, you are done? There was somewhere about the treatment that mentioned about Bansang. There was poor treatment at Bansang. I think this issue came up last year in the report, and again it came up. What's your take on that?
So the issue in Bansang is a contamination that is called iron. Iron, geologically, it occurs in the ground. It's not something that is caused by humans. It's something that occurs in the rocks where water is extracted from. So this naturally occurs in the geological formation around Bansang, in the deep aquifer, and since the treatment plan was established there, that is in the 70s, they have been experiencing this problem. And on different occasions, they have tried to get boreholes in different places. Now, if you go there, their borehole is not within Bansang itself, it's in Bantanto. But previously, they have about 2 boreholes on separate occasions been drilled within Bansang, and because of the iron issue, they have to decommission a borehole and move to another place. So it has been a problem that exists for a very long time. But this year, as part of their World Bank projects, Bansang has been one of their intervention sites. There is a study going on to see that whether there will be a technology that can address this for them to have a water supply without that high levels of iron. So the project is a pilot study. They already drilled 1 borehole next to the river side, and the technology that they will use is a horizontal sand filter, where the borehole will be extracting water from the river through the soil, which is going to be the filter medium for this. So if that is successful, so far they have conducted about 3 water analysis. So if that is successful, there is a plan also to extend the analysis to Dakar, where you have accredited labs. There will be about 5 boreholes that will be drilled to substantiate the demand. So the project is ongoing.
Thank you. In page 30, very quickly, I noticed that you issue stop notices to operators for illegally undergoing certain constructions. Now, has that situation been regularized and they've continued with the construction? The stop notices in page 30.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. Stop notices are what kickstart the process of enforcement. So when they are constructing without the authorization required, before we jump to enforcement, we first issue them a stop notice. So where they have actually complied with the stop notice, we do not go ahead and issue a legal notice, which is an enforcement. So those that haven't complied, we have done enforcement and they have stopped and complied.
Those that are served with the legal notices
Yes.
in the same page, and
Yes.
the subsequent one,
Yes,
they've also complied.
they have complied, yes.
Okay.
And Comium has paid, as I said, 9 million.
It's 9 million.
It went to the government coffers, by the way, not to
Okay.
Likewise, Jawel and Mohammed. Yeah.
Is it that your fines are not that much? That's why they're just deliberately doing this? Maybe you need to look at your fines to serve as a deterrent.
Sometimes it's a question of lack of knowledge on what is right and wrong. And if we were having conflict where fiscal planning would give them permits before PURA authorized them, because they were having, but now they've stopped. Because
Yeah, in fact, we made a resolution in the parliament here that they cannot do that unless PURA gives them the license, then they can give them authorization. Yeah, so we've done a resolution and they are aware.
they can start before they get.
And in addition to that, the fine as well, but as my DG mentioned earlier, we are working on reviewing the PURA Act. So while we're reviewing the legal framework, we will also review the fines to see the sufficiency of it.
And finally, can we go back to page 10? The table of active mobile subscribers. I'm very much concerned and worried about the reduction, drastical for that matter, for that of Gamcell, from 677,785 in 2017 to 91,459 in 2021. And this has been annual reduction.
I will, with your permission, give the IT people to respond, but I think they will explain about economic regulation.
Okay. Mr. Chair, yes, I think that's a fact and it's very worrying, but it shows that the lack of investment in this in the sector by Gamcell, because currently most people use telephone for data services, but their 3G rollout is very small compared to the operators. So the reason why this is happening, they are not investing in their network, and people have moved on. Previously, people used to queue for Gamcell SIM cards in this country, but because they have not invested in 3G in most of the communities, people have moved on. But very few people use ordinary phones just to call. You use it for WhatsApp, for social media, for everything, and their 3G rollout is very, very low compared to their competitors like Africell and QCell. So this accounts for the reduction in the number of subscribers.
Very worrying. Honorable members, on that note, do you have any other issue in the activity report? To help us with? Now I guess, water and electricity. Really, our people are struggling to get water. On that note, honorable members, let me thank you once more for the participation and to PURA for the submissions that you have made in response to our questions. And we requested that the DG help us with that as far as NAWIC is concerned, and that will form part of our report. Unfortunately, it is not FPAC that deals with NAWIC, but PEC. But for this one, we have to make strong recommendation for that institution to be regulated. It's not only going to be left with PURA to regulate. Nationally, we should all come together and regulate NAWIC. Power and good. On that note, honorable members, we have gone through the reports of PURA 2021, both the activity and then the financial statements thoroughly, where they have the audit queries and they've responded to those queries thoroughly. Some of them to be confirmed in the subsequent report, that precisely 2022 and 2023. And then some we expect updated management response. In view of that, and in the absence of adverse audit opinions, and of course, a disclaimer of opinion on the audited financial statements, can I submit that this August committee consider and adopt the report of PURA for 2021, precisely the audited financial statements and the activity report for 2021. Those in favor, please say aye. And those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. On that note, the said reports stand considered and adopted by the committee. Thank you. Before we close, can we get maybe final comments from PURA?
Or defer to the chairman maybe to make.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for giving PURA the opportunity to present its activity report and its financials for 2021. As I indicated in my opening statement, your discussions for us are very insightful, because I think it also helps us to improve our operations. And we've taken very keen note of the observations made here to improve the operations of PURA. PURA's task is huge. And as I kept on saying, as a country, we must accept that we need a robust regulatory regime in place. And this is what we have found when we went to Nigeria. They have a completely different legal regime for regulation. We yet have to reach that stage. And some of the observations made here, I think, particularly when it comes to PURA's salary level vis-a-vis the agencies it regulates, I think those who have some historical perspective in the room here, we realize that when PURA was created by the 2001 Act, PURA's salary level were higher than all the other services. And in fact, people were moving from those services to PURA. And then this is why when you look at PURA, some of the older staff have either come from GAMTEL, the then GAMTEL, or other services. And when we came as a board, we realized that, you know, that advantage that PURA had before had been eroded, and we need to gradually develop to make PURA that become a very efficient operation, which will attract people from other services. I do agree that this has to be done gradually, and as a board, we have resisted recommendations from management to have huge salary increases that are not related to a strategy, that are not related to performance appraisal, and that are not also related to a sound and robust study of where we should pitch the salary levels. But I think we are moving gradually towards that. The 3-year strategy that has been developed, I think, has given us good guideposts to eventually get PURA to the level where staff will not have the incentive to leave because of comparing their salary levels to other institutions. I mean, we thank you very much for the observations made. We'll endeavor to respond to them in the management letter, and also in the subsequent reports that will be prepared for 2022 and 2023. A lot has been discussed about NAWEC, but I think that sometimes NAWEC's problem would require involvement of everybody, particularly this committee and also the National Assembly, because NAWEC is at the heart of the economic operation of this country. And I can recall that the NAWEC issue has been with us since 1997, because I fully recall when the generator in Habdai got bust, and we are still struggling with the same problem. We are still getting the same answers from NAWEC. We're still having difficulties to really get to the heart of how we can overcome NAWEC to ensure that it provides efficient electricity supply and good quality water supply. Even areas that never used to suffer from electricity and water shortages are now, experiencing those issues. And I quite agree with the Honorable Chair that we have gone back to the electricity outages that we were used to. And we went through some period of improvement, but it seems, it's getting worse at the situation we are in now. Hopefully, we will be overcoming many of these problems in the light of many of the projects they have lined up to implement. But part of the problem is the mismatch between the pronouncements they make that World Bank, African Development Bank, or some institution has provided funding, and the time lag for the consumer to realize the benefits of the envisaged projects. I think we'll all go after them to ensure that really they improve consumer confidence that NAWEC is in a position to provide efficient and quality services. Once more, thank you, Honorable Chair, and the other honorable members of this commission for giving us the opportunity to once more appear before you. Thank you.
You can make the submission of the updated management response to your auditor for confirmation and onward submission to the committee. On that note, thank you, and you can leave. Then we have one